Hello, welcome back. Hopefully you finished the rest of step 4. Compare your numbers here. For standard, you should have gotten total overhead of 1.5 million. Then you went ahead and did custom. Now for custom, notice the activity rate is the same. The activity rate doesn't change. What changes is how much activity was used for each different product line. Okay, so the rate's the same that we used for the standard, but what changed again was the activity used to make the custom product. All that was gotten from the data sheet. That's where we obtained those figures: 5,000 hours, 160 batches, 10 designs, and 8,000 square feet. Gave us total overhead cost to the custom line of 3.3. I like to do an extra check. I like to make sure the sum of these, so if you add that up, right now we're going to get 4.8 million. I like to double check. We have total overhead costs to allocate for of 4.8 million. So we're taking those overhead costs and we're dividing it amongst the two product lines. Okay, so that was step 4, allocate overhead to products. Step 5 is to calculate our unit product cost. We did the MO, we just did that. Now we need to have the DM and the DL. So again, we'll remind us that we have two products. We have the standard and we have the custom. So for the standard, we need the materials, the labor, the MO. MO, we just figured it out, but we said we want to do it per unit. Per unit. So let's go ahead and figure out how many units we make of the standard go-kart. 5,000 units. So go ahead and divide your 1.5 million. Divide by 5,000. You're going to get $300. So there you go. $300 is your overhead per unit using the ABC system. Direct materials and labor. Go back to your data sheet for that information. There you go, 400 and 350 respectively. 400 and 350. So those were given. The only thing we had to calculate was the 300. Because remember, ABC is just for calculating overhead. Everything else, DM, DL, that's traceable. We don't need to estimate or allocate it amongst products. All right, so that gives us a total product cost of, oh goodness, out of all these pieces of paper, where is it? 1,050. Now repeat for custom. DM, DL, MO. MO comes from our calculation. We got 3.3 for the custom. Divide it by how many units of the custom go-kart we make. According to the data sheet, we make 1,000 custom go-karts. So that means each one has overhead of 3,300. So bring that down here, 3,300. DM and DL need to be given 6 and 5. Add it up to get your total product cost per unit. Good. So why the heck did we do all this? Well, let's compare and see. Previously, the company, we were told, used a traditional costing approach. So let's see what their product cost would be using a traditional approach. Traditional approach. What was their product cost? Well, we said DM and DL don't change. What changed was how they tracked their overhead costs. Previously, they used a traditional system. Traditional system, you take your overhead, your estimated overhead, divided it by your activity base, which was 100,000 direct labor hours. So let's figure out what your POHR was. It was the 4.8. divide by 100,000 direct labor hours. That gave us a rate of $48 per hour, per direct labor hour. All right, how many direct labor hours does it take to make a standard go-kart? According to our data, 25,000. Oh, wait. Actually, I think we have it up here, a little bit easier per unit. That way I don't have to take it to the total and divide it. So right here, standard is 15. So $48 times 15 will give us our standard. 48 times 15, work that out, we should get 720. So 720 plus your DL gives you a product cost of 1,470. Can you guys see that? Okay, good. 1,470 compared to what we just calculated under ABC. Again, DM, DL, it's the same. But using ABC here for overhead costs, we got 300. Using a traditional approach, we got 720. Almost twice as much under the traditional approach, setting our product cost at $1,470. Now, if you look at the sales price is $2,000 for a standard go-kart. So we weren't experiencing too much gross profit, right? We obviously will have more with ABC, and more importantly, we'll accurately be tracking our costs. So if we need to reduce our price, we know that we can reduce up to, 1,050, whereas before we thought that our cost was $1,470. So now we have a better idea of what our true overhead costs are for the standard unit. Go ahead and repeat for custom. For custom, under the traditional approach, DM, DL, the same, 600, 500. What was our MO? It was $48 per unit times 25 direct labor hours to make the custom part per unit. Multiply that, and we're going to get 1,200. Add that up, we get a total cost of 2,300 under the traditional approach. When we did ABC to calculate our overhead, we got almost 3 times as much, 3,300. This is typical when a company is producing 2 different types of products. One, like a low volume and a high volume, right? So we're producing this in fewer quantity. I think this one was 1,000 units, and this is 5,000 units. So this is a low quantity, high quantity. So it makes sense that the one that's being produced more would have more overhead cost under a traditional system because it's getting overall more machine hours. Whereas the custom, even though it might be using less overall machine hours, there's a lot of other elements that won't be captured in machine hours, like design costs. Those costs are solely attributed to the custom line, and if we were using the traditional approach, it would segregate those costs maybe evenly, well, based on machine hours. So it's going to take some of those costs onto our high capacity product, which was the standard go-kart. So this is typical. So the advantage of an ABC system is it's going to shift the overhead costs to the low volume, from the high volume. So we shifted those costs where they should go because your low volume product is responsible for more overhead costs. Let's see, we had more batches, more designs, for instance, and those costs wouldn't necessarily get captured with the traditional approach. So now this company can be a little more competitive knowing what their true costs are, especially because their sales price for their custom is $3,500, which was fine when they thought their costs were $2,300, but their cost for this product, the custom go-kart, is really $4,400. So they were pricing themselves too low. All right, we worked through it. Go ahead and try some homework, and I'll post the video reviewing the homework tomorrow morning. So go ahead and try that for your homework, EA8, EA9, EA13, on pages 329 to 330. try those and I'll post a video walking through those solutions tomorrow.